Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, a show celebrating and questioning one of the most beloved entertainment companies in the world through honest, passionate, and clear-eyed Disney discussions. I'm Jeff DePauli, your entertainment-obsessed host with rose-colored glasses removed. Today on the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by LaughingPlace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on March 9th, 2022, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. Disneyland Paris kicks off its 30th anniversary celebration, some mature Marvel series are coming to Disney+, Disneyland honors Minnie Mouse, and more.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Over the past few weeks, Disneyland Paris has made some major changes to some of its health and safety policies. First, as of March 2nd, it is no longer mandatory for guests or cast members to wear a face covering in the parks, Disney Village, restaurants, attractions, or hotels. Soon after this change, the resort also announced that it would resume close interactions between characters and guests. This means that parkgoers can once again hug their favorite Disney friends. For some context, at this time, Disneyland Paris does require guests to have a valid French vaccine pass or health pass depending on their age. More details about these policies and what is required for visiting Disneyland Paris can be found on their website. A new set of Disney-themed McDonald's Happy Meal toys have arrived. Well, in China. Recently, Shanghai Disney announced a multi-year partnership with McDonald's China involving the brand's iconic Happy Meals. As a result of the agreement, the first set of toys is now available at select McDonald's locations in mainland China. Similar to the recent Walt Disney World 50th figure stateside, these toys feature Mickey and friends enjoying some of Shanghai Disney's top attractions in celebration of the park's June 2021 5th anniversary. These include Mickey on Tron Light Cycle Power Run, Daisy on Soarin' Over the Horizon, Minnie on Pirates of the Caribbean Battle for the Sunken Treasure, and more. There's also an Enchanted Storybook Castle figure. While I doubt many of us will have the chance to pick these up for ourselves, there's always eBay. The Disneyland Resort is changing things up in celebration of Women's History Month. Recently, the iconic Mickey floral design that greets guests as they enter the gate of Disneyland was changed to the one and only Minnie Mouse. According to Disney, a team of 13 horticulture cast members began the transformation process around midnight and had the project completed by 6 a.m. the following morning. In the end, more than 1,750 individual plants were used in the design. Currently, the updated arrangement is set to be in place through the end of March. Disney California Adventure has unveiled a new plaque honoring the legacy of the late, great Disney legend Stan Lee right at the entrance to Avengers Campus. With Lee having a hand in creating characters like Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and so many more, he is one of the most prolific comic book creators of all time, and his name is synonymous with the Marvel brand. The plaque, which dedicates the land to Lee, uses a quote from the comic creator himself that reads, "That person who helps others simply because it should or must be done, and because it is the right thing to do, is indeed, without a doubt, a real superhero." It then says, "Thank you, Stan, for inspiring the hero within each of us. You have made us all true believers." Avengers Campus is now open at Disney California Adventure and is set to debut at Disneyland Paris this summer. After getting cut short in 2020, the Disney California Adventure Food and Wine Festival has returned. This iteration of the popular event will take place until April 26th. Once again, the festivities include specialty items at multiple quick-service locations, as well as at themed kiosks. There are also culinary demonstrations on weekends, family activities, and more. Plus, fans of the classic Soarin' Over California attraction will be happy to know that the original film is back for a limited time. So be sure to check out the 2022 DCA Food and Wine Festival while it lasts. I had a chance to check it out myself, and I tried the now infamous peanut butter and jelly mac. It ain't that bad, folks, and the jelly part is Pop Rocks sprinkled on top, so your mouth crackles while you eat it. That's a win. Also, be sure and order from the garlic food stand, as it was my favorite. Over on the East Coast, a different annual festival has also begun, as the Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival brings fresh blooms and tasty treats to the park. The outdoor kitchens feature culinary specials from around the world, along with fresh ingredients found much closer to home. Also returning is the Garden Rocks concert series, featuring a number of popular bands and artists performing at the American Adventure Pavilion. Of course, dozens of fun characters' topiaries are also on display as part of the festival. In fact, you may just find some obscure Easter eggs along the way, including Squeaks from The Fox and the Hound making a surprising appearance on Sneezy's nose. The 2022 Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival continues through July 4th. Along with the Flower and Garden Festival, a new Beacons of Light has debuted on Spaceship Earth at Epcot. For this iteration, the creative team set the sequence to the Academy Award-winning song Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas. According to Imagineer Zach Ridley, an orchestral, piano-based variation of this song was chosen for its message of intrinsic value and respect for beauty of nature and living things, with new visual flourishes that evoke the musical scene from the film with techniques entirely original for Spaceship Earth. This special Beacons of Light is now performing as part of the International Flower and Garden Festival. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, a sentence I never thought I'd have to say on this show, Disney has made the decision to modify the itinerary of some of its northern European sailings aboard the Disney Magic. These cruises will now visit an alternate port instead of making a previously planned stop in St. Petersburg, Russia. According to Disney, they are currently in discussions with ports in other countries and will provide an update later this month. Currently, this change affects 2 sailings, one departing July 30th and another departing August 10th. Meanwhile, the Walt Disney Company has also announced that it's pausing theatrical releases in Russia. In a statement, the company added, "We will make future business decisions based on the evolving situation. In the meantime, given the scale of the emerging refugee crisis, we are working with our NGO partners to provide urgent aid and other humanitarian assistance to refugees." With Florida's controversial parental rights in education bill, better known as the Don't Say Gay bill, currently in the state legislature as of this recording, a local TV ad in Orlando took aim at Disney for not publicly opposing the proposed law. However, while Disney did provide a statement to Good Morning America in response, it stopped short of condemning the bill. More recently, in an email to cast members, CEO Bob Chapek sought to explain the perceived silence on the matter, stating, "As we have seen time and time again, corporate statements do very little to change outcomes or minds. Instead, they are often weaponized by one side or the other to further divide and inflame. Simply put, they can be counterproductive and undermine more effective ways to achieve change." Chapek went on to write, "Encanto, Black Panther, Pose, Reservation Dogs, Coco, Soul, Modern Family, Shang-Chi, Summer of Soul, Love Victor. These and all of our diverse stories are our corporate statements, and they are more powerful than any tweet or lobbying effort. I firmly believe that our ability to tell such stories and have them received with open eyes, ears, and hearts would be diminished if our company were to become a political football in any debate." Concluding the memo, he wrote, "Our company has been a force for inclusion for a long time, and that will not change on my watch. We all have a role to play in this effort, from the cast members who make magical memories for fans and families of all kinds, to storytellers who take audiences on journeys, to new story worlds that illuminate our own, to everyone in between who is responsible for ensuring our culture lives up to our values. I hope we will all continue rowing in the direction of a better tomorrow." Now that's the end of the quote, and this obviously made a lot of people angry. I have a similar response to this as I do when people get mad about price increases or low-quality annual passes. My response is, stop buying them. That is the only way any change will be made. Now, Disney loves to sell Rainbow Pride merchandise. If this bill upsets you, as it should, and you feel the Walt Disney Company is not doing enough to fight it, then do not buy any of their Pride merchandise, specialty rainbow cupcakes, etc., no matter how good they look on Instagram and TikTok. If you stop buying product, changes will be made. Period. Disney legend Jodie Benson shared on her Instagram that her autobiography, Part of My World, is releasing this September. In the book, Benson promises to take readers on a magical journey from a Midwestern town to the bright lights of Broadway and the recording booth where she brought one of the most beloved Disney princesses of all time to life. In her post, Benson said, "Never in a million years did I ever think I would write a book. But when Tyndale Publishing reached out to me 2 years ago, I realized you've been asking me questions for 30 plus years about The Little Mermaid, about Broadway, about my life. So this book is my love letter to all of you. Part of My World is available for pre-order on Amazon and from other booksellers. Just a few hours after a report suggested that Disney was considering introducing an ad-supported tier of its Disney Plus streaming service, the company confirmed the news that it would indeed be rolling out such an offering in the United States by the end of this year. This debut will be followed by a rollout in other international markets in 2023. The new tier would be in addition to the current ad-free experience, allowing viewers to choose which plan they prefer. According to Disney, the introduction of the ad-supported tier will help keep the company on the path toward meeting its goal of having 230 million to 260 million Disney Plus subscribers by fiscal year 2024. The world-famous house band of the Muppets, the Electric Mayhem, are finally making their first album in a new comedy series for Disney Plus. The Muppets Mayhem will take audiences on a music-filled journey with the Oddball Band. Along with the Muppets, the show will star Lily Singh, who will play the human lead role of Nora, the junior A&R executive tasked with managing and wrangling the Mayhem. The series was developed by Adam F. Goldberg, previous DCTC guest Bill Beretta, and Jeff Yorkes, and is penned by the same trio. There's no release info for the Muppets Mayhem just yet, but hopefully this is one Muppets Disney Plus project that finally sticks. Get ready, foolish mortals, because Disney's latest Haunted Mansion film now has a release date. The new film is set to arrive on March 10th, 2023. Directed by Justin Simien, The Haunted Mansion stars Tiffany Haddish, Owen Wilson, Rosario Dawson, Danny DeVito, and Lakeith Stanfield, and the feature take on the famed Disney theme park ride, and as far as we know, has nothing to do with the Eddie Murphy film. Other than that, little is known about the plot at this time. But with only about a year to go until its debut, we'll surely be learning more about the Haunted Mansion soon enough for those dying to know. And now it's time to bring in Kyle Burbank, this time from the other side of the world. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
You want to tell the folks where you are?
Yeah, I'm currently in the Disneyland Paris area. And it is a much different time than it is where you are at the moment.
It's true. I'm getting ready to go to bed. You are waking up, or I should say you woke up specifically to do the House of Mouse headlines. So everybody's wet little ears that are listening, thank you for that, Kyle. And we should probably start with the news. The reason why you're at Disneyland Paris. Disneyland Paris has kicked off its 30th anniversary. So how's it been going?
It's been a lot of fun. I've had a chance to check out a couple of the new offerings a few times now over the past few days, and there's such excitement here. It's hard to describe. I think if you between the new nighttime show and the daytime offerings, the enthusiasm of the fans here in Paris is really palpable.
Excellent. And as we discussed, or as I read earlier in the episode, the mask mandates are kind of gone. You can now hug the characters again. So that's more excitement on top of the normal celebrating, which they do have a new pre-show that will join the popular Disney Illuminations Nighttime Spectacular, including 200 drones as part of the show. Did you see this?
Yeah. So this is actually a two-part thing. So Disney Delight is the pre-show, and it's your typical pre-show that we've seen these days with projections, mostly projections, and they also have these nice fountains in front of the castle, so that adds to it. And this is it plays a slower rendition of the Disneyland Paris theme for the 30th. But what's cool is then at the end, there's this moment where the castle goes entirely black, and then it lights back up, and there's this giant 30 hanging in the sky next to the castle. With these drones. So both times I've seen this, the crowd watching has had like an audible gasp. And then, of course, you see all the cell phones fly up into the air to get pictures. But it's a really beautiful and emotional moment. But then they also added a surprise post-show to Illuminations, which is more high energy. It plays the regular version of the song. And this is kind of, I like to think of it as like a curtain call for the drones. They get to come back out and they do a lot more. So they start, so what's cool about the opening, the pre-show, is that you don't really see the drones coming. They just kind of appear like out of magic. Mm-hmm. Whereas the post-show, this time they sparkle, so you can kind of see the technology behind it. You can see them forming, which is fun. And then they do some other tricks. Like there's a part where they kind of pull the 3 and the 0 apart a little bit, so it looks like it's 3D, that kind of like block lettering. And then later they form into like a globe, and there's a little 30 spinning in the center of it. It looks really cool. So you get like this emotional version, and then you get this fun show off the technology version.
It's interesting because I, unfortunately, have never gotten to see drones used in a Disney park spectacular, but I have seen it at Universal Studios Hollywood for one of the Hogwarts nighttime projection shows. They use drones, and it's like you said, like you don't see the drones going into place, and then all of a sudden they light up, and in the case of the Harry Potter show, they formed some mythical creature in the sky, and like it was choreographed in a way that like the animal was turning its head, like there was legitimate animation to the static image, and it's super impressive, like you said, when it comes out of nowhere. So that's super cool. I'm happy to hear that Disney's like getting in that game. I wish they'd done it sooner. From what I understand, there's just like, you know, it's hard to get like an insurance clearance when it comes to drones if it has to fly over audience members in any way, shape, or form. So I would love to see this used more and more. As I think everybody's been saying for many years, let's do something with those tangled lanterns and drones, because it would just be gorgeous. But yeah, that's super cool that they got that over there.
Yeah, and I mean, they did the little drone show at Disney Springs a few years back, but this is the first time like in a Disney park and on a nightly basis that they'll be using this technology. And it'll be interesting. I think I didn't talk directly to him, but I was part of a little panel with one of the creative directors of the show. And he was saying, you know, the drones will hold up to a little bit of wind and a little bit of rain. But of course, there is going to be a B mode for this pre-show, lest the weather not cooperate.
Sure. Also, as part of the celebration, we got the Gardens of Wonder, which is comprised of 10 different themed gardens, and it features 30 new art pieces, including character displays, mobiles, and more. Have you seen this?
Of course. It's all around the hub. These are actually pretty cool. There's some different themes to besides the mobiles themselves. The areas they have different colors and different types of plants that all fit the theme of them. And so it's fun to go look around at those. And those will apparently, like the beddings around them will change with the season to be more appropriate for the season. So I thought that was an interesting note. And what's also cool is they look really cool at night because they add black light and some other like little effects to them. But otherwise they just sit there and spin. They're all really interesting looking. My favorite one is probably the Maleficent that's right in front of the castle, just because it looks, you know, this great dichotomy there. I do have one nitpick, which is there is a mobile depicting Sleeping Beauty dancing with, I guess they would be like the owl that's wearing the hat and robe at that point.
Sure.
But the purple that they use for her dress makes it look more like Rapunzel than Aurora, and so it's a little confusing. But that's it. Otherwise, it's a lot of fun, and you know, they look really cool all around that hub area there.
Also, as part of the 30th anniversary, the characters got some new costumes. A lot of them are in iridescent costumes with specially designed hats, and of course, the big Minnie Mouse pantsuit costume designed by Stella McCartney, which got a lot of buzz about it, shall we say. How have the costumes been? They always have really cool costumes overseas, I feel like.
Yeah, I really like the 30th costumes, which are the ones you're going to see most of the time. I've seen Mickey and Minnie waving above the train station in the mornings. That was my first good look at them. But then they also appear in all these costumes when they do the daytime show, the Dream and Shine Brighter. But I really like the look of these. I don't quite know how to describe them. I think the most interesting element to me is on Donald's head. He has this, his normal hat, but it looks almost like it's made out of some sort of gel material. I don't know, but it's fun and they're colorful. And then as far as the mini pantsuit one, that one's kind of interesting because, you know, everyone wanted to make it sound like this permanent change that was happening everywhere, when in reality, It's happening for less than a month at the least attended Disney park in the world.
Well, also, people were talking like it was the first time Minnie Mouse was ever put in a pantsuit, and that is certainly not the case.
No, it's not. Like, she's on the ship.
Yeah. It was a bizarre thing. Somebody too woke tweeted about it, and people retweeted, is what it seems like. But whatever, that happened. So, but in any case, how's the pantsuit look?
It kind of looks like pajamas, honestly. Like, I don't think that the outfit itself looks that amazing. I think it looks a little bit better in person than it shows up in photos. But so this is her meet and greet over at Walt Disney Studios Park in where I think it's the stage where Cinemagique was. And so you can meet her there during certain hours. Both times that I've gone by, besides the time that I actually got to meet her, she has a few different hours, and it seems like the queue fills up really quickly. Like, there was one set going from like 1:10 to 2 something, and when we came by, they're like, "Oh no, you can't. You have to come back at like 4." Like, I guess they'd already had enough people in line to last her until the end of that first set. So, seems to be pretty popular so far. But then again, it's only like day 2 of the celebration.
It seems like you get to Disneyland Paris more often than you do Disneyland in California. Is that accurate at this point?
Oh, that is 100% accurate. I've already been here twice, and I still haven't been back to Disneyland.
That's so crazy. That is so wild to me. How about, of course, with every special celebration, there's specialty merch and food. Has there been anything that has stuck out to you?
Well, I haven't had a chance to actually try any of this stuff, but there is a giant shortbread cookie that I considered buying. It's €12, and it's the size of your head. So that's one treat I didn't get. And we also considered getting they have a mug cake, which looks delicious, but then I'd have to try to figure out how to transport the mug home. So that was another non-starter. As far as merchandise, though, we did buy a few things. I had to pick up the 30th anniversary Spirit jersey. It has a 30 logo on the front, and then the back has this colorful design and all the lettering. It's hard to describe, but they represent different attractions. Like, they worked some of these like little icons into the look of each letter. So I was excited to pick that up. And I don't remember if I bought it. I think we bought a magnet for my mother-in-law, but otherwise didn't buy a ton of merch. But I will say one thing that's kind of weird is they have all of the 30th merchandise exclusive to one shop on Main Street at the moment. So this shop has had really long lines, like all the way down the arcade ever since the celebration started.
And then part of this, of course, we got Avengers Campus coming to Disneyland Paris, but that isn't opening until this summer. How's the construction looking on that? Can you see anything?
You can see a little bit. They just put up the web logo on one of the buildings. I mean, I haven't, climbed any walls or anything, but just from a distance, it doesn't look that close to opening. But let's hope that maybe all the interior stuff is good and it's just exteriors they need to fix. And, this is a Disney Parks summer, quote unquote. So it could be as late as September, I would think.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, let's move on to some more news, and that is that the Tokyo Disney Resort, let's stay overseas for a second, is going to issue a limited number of multi-day visit passports. Now, the cost of a multi-day visit passport will be 44,400 yen, which is around $386 in the United States. And the multi-day visit passport allows guests to visit one park of their choice, either Tokyo Disneyland or Tokyo Disney Sea, on a pre-selected date twice a month from May to July of 2022, so basically it's valid for 6 entries total. Now, if demand is high, the resort will use a lottery system to determine who gets to purchase a multi-day visit passport. And one of the terms of this ticket is that entry time starts at 10:30 a.m., so that's after the morning rush to enter the park has calmed down a bit. Now, applying to purchase a multi-day visit passport is a commitment to paying the price in full if selected to purchase. Multi-day visit passport holders will submit 4 desired dates to visit one of the parks each month, with the resort confirming which dates they received by the middle of the month prior. Once dates are confirmed, they cannot be changed, and multi-day visit passports this is important, they are not eligible for refunds for days unused or theme park operating hours changes, or closures. That part is wild to me. Other than that, I actually kind of like this option. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was kind of a surprise. I'm sure people remember Disneyland or Tokyo Disneyland closed their annual pass program, which was, kind of the thing that made us be like, oh, maybe Disneyland's will go away. And then obviously it kind of did, and then kind of reemerged. So this feels like them kind of dipping a toe in and being like, okay, well, we're going to let you come back, but on our terms. And
very much on their terms, right? Like basically, if the pandemic closes the park again, or we close again for any reason, we don't owe you a refund, is what that last part says. They are not eligible for refunds for days unused, meaning if you just don't show, or theme park operating hour changes or closures. That is so crazy to me that that's a thing. That just seems insane to me.
Yeah, and I mean, and I talk about controlling demand, like just the strict arrival time with this this pass, and if there's too much demand for these passes, they're going to use a lottery system to decide who gets them. It's a very interesting offering, and it's only six visits between 3 months.
Okay, I gotta say, I actually kind of like this limiting. Of course, anybody can buy a one-day ticket and go as often as they like, and frankly, 6 times in 3 months means twice a month, every other weekend. So that is a lot of going to the park. Like, I actually think it's an interesting way of doing it. The pay it all up front thing obviously will anger some people, but I think that's the right way to do it. If you're worried about these things selling out and having to do a lottery system, like, you're getting rid of a bunch of people by saying, hey, no payment system available. And I think the thing that's weird is, like, you have to submit date options and they essentially choose which day they're going to allow you to come. Like, it's very weird, but I am not against the limiting how often people can go. I just feel like Disney parks, if you're an annual pass holder and it's this way it used to be, and, I used to go a lot all the time, but, like, no matter how big a Disney fan you are, it loses some of the magic. So I think that, like, not allowing the people to come as often might help keep the magic alive for a lot of people. And then on top of that, from a business standpoint, they won't have to update stuff as often as far as, like, constantly new shows, new parades and stuff, because people aren't seeing it 4 times a month or whatever it might be. We've seen how it works differently between Disneyland and Walt Disney World for that very reason. So, like, I don't think the concept behind it is bad. I do think some of the rules attached to it is very weird.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring up the changing entertainment and stuff, because that is kind of what Tokyo is known for, is every quarter they have a whole new celebration. And that seems to have mostly kept up since they've reopened. So, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe we'll see that slow down a little bit. And also keep in mind, like, this is still just locals. I don't know if there's not any real large tourism allowed in Japan at the moment. So you're not having foreigners come to this park and they're already still hitting their limits that they need to put this many rules on not even real APs.
Yeah, it's interesting. I will be interested to see if something similar to this rolls out in the States. Because, I mean, as it is, we got a lot of very unhappy Magic key holders here at the Disneyland Resort. People are not happy with the way that program has been working. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. So it'll be interesting to see if even more changes come to that. But in any case, shall we move on to the next story?
Let's do it.
Okay. Right after we were released or recorded last week, Disneyland announced return dates for nighttime spectaculars. We got the Main Street Electrical Parade returning on April 22nd, along with the Disneyland Forever fireworks. Good fireworks show. Wish it was Remember Dreams Come True personally, but hey, Disneyland Forever is better than Mickey's Mixed Magic. We got World of Color returning on April 22nd as well. And then a bit later, May 28th, we have Fantasmic returning to its original park, which is great. Now, Now, one note to keep in mind is that Disneyland Forever fireworks will run Friday through Sunday, while a projections-only version of Mickey's Mixed Magic will perform during the week until late spring, with Disneyland Forever going nightly this summer. And also, I guess the big new news is that when the Main Street Electrical Parade does return to Disneyland Park, it will feature an all-new grand finale that celebrates the theme of togetherness. The finale takes inspiration from the original design of the Main Street Electrical Parade floats, as well as Disney legend Mary Blair's iconic art style on It's a Small World. It also features dozens of Disney, animation, and Pixar characters, many of which will be seen as animated dolls. The Disney Parks blog said, as the new grand finale passes by, guests along each side of the parade route will see a different set of stylized scenes from classic and contemporary favorite stories such as Encanto, The Jungle Book, Raya and the Last Dragon, Aladdin, Coco, Mulan, Brave, The Princess and the Frog, and more. So, this is great news that all of this stuff is returning, but the reaction online is so interesting to me, just because, to me, I'm like, this should have happened 6 months ago. This is too late in my mind, but I have the mentality of, better late than never. That's how I feel about it. I don't know, you?
Well, I think what's most interesting, I haven't paid too much attention to the reaction, quite honestly. But I know when they announced that the Main Street Electrical Parade was coming back, everyone was like, and Paint the Night? What's going on with that? You have a newer, better parade sitting around. So maybe because there's a new float, people are on board with it.
Well, a new float, but clearly repurposed, and what was it, to honor America, that big finale float?
R.I.P. the bacon.
Exactly. I mean, it was clearly, they showed some concept art, and it was clearly that float rethemed, which, is fine. But, the Main Street Electrical Parade, man, I know a lot of people have a soft spot for it. It's done in my mind. It's not going to get me into the park. I'll say that.
Well, what's funny is we were talking about Minnie's pantsuit being scandalized. As soon as I saw this press release about this new diverse is one of the words they used, conclusion and replacing the celebration of America, I was like, oh, well, Tucker got his main story tonight. And I haven't seen that reaction, surprisingly. I guess this one eluded them. But
it's true. Listen, it always did feel like a little bit of a weird finale. It felt like a parade that should have been done on the 4th of July or something. It felt a little random in my mind because the whole parade is just Disney properties. And then all of a sudden it's like Americana, which, listen, I get it. There's an innate Americana to Disneyland in general, but I don't know. It always felt a little strange to me. But yeah, you're right. It is a little bit
so when did the parade debut originally?
Oh, it's the 50th anniversary this year, so 1972.
Okay, so I'm not a historian on this, but I think what happened was there was the original version and then probably the bicentennial. So that's probably why the America part was there.
I think you're right, and then it's survived all these years, but apparently Paint the Night hasn't survived a pandemic. Nobody knows what happened to that.
Well, even before that, right? When was the last time Paint the Night performed?
Yeah, it closed a while ago. I don't know what's going on with that. And then Magic Happens, 3-week run. Supposedly it's not in good working condition. I don't know what is going on with parades backstage, but
well, what's happening with it on Big Brother?
Wait a sec. What does this have to do with Big Brother?
Isn't it Magic Happens? Is that the Todrick one?
Oh, Todrick. Oh, that's right. Yes. Magic Happens is the Todrick. Yeah, he got in trouble in Big Brother. That's a whole other thing. But I did get to meet Carson Kressley and Chris Kattan at a Big Brother rap party in West Hollywood. So that happened on the night of the finale. And yeah, boy, did I change my tune on Todrick Hall from the beginning of that season to the end. Woo-hoo, different person in my mind. But that is a whole other story. But in any case, the nighttime spectaculars are coming back. Things are getting back to normal.
The other part that stuck out to me about the press release was I was looking over carefully for the details of Fantasmic, and when it mentioned pirates instead of Peter Pan, I was like, oh, okay, so we're sticking with the new one.
Oh, did you ever think there was a chance of it going back? No way.
Yeah, but, a man can dream.
A man can dream, yep. But no, it's never going to happen, sadly. Now, before we move on to the next story, I want to remind listeners that they can save 15% off of their order at Souvenir Scents simply by using discount code DCTC. At Souvenir Scents, they're creating handmade candles and melts to help bring your most cherished vacation memories into your home. Their unique scents are individually formulated by their own in-house scent creator to bring the most realistic representation to life. So if you've ever wanted to bring the smells of Flight of Passage or Soarin' Around the World into your home, check out the bundle offers at Souvenir Scents. Simply click on their link in this episode's description, and don't forget to use code DCTC when checking out to save. Now, Daredevil and other Marvel series are coming to Disney Plus along with updated parental controls. On March 16th, Disney Plus will add the following Marvel series, as I said, Daredevil, as well as Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Defenders, The Punisher, and Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was previously available to stream on Hulu, but is currently not available, while the rest of the series were Netflix originals. Those series have now left that streaming service, and with the addition of these titles, Disney Plus will concurrently release an update to its parental controls in the US that will prompt all subscribers to update their settings. The updated controls will also roll out just in time for the MCU's latest Disney Plus series, Moon Knight, for which Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has said Marvel is not pulling back in regards to violence. So, basically, love Victor and Lizzie McGuire, too adult for the streaming service, but the rules change when it comes to Marvel, doesn't it, Kyle?
Well, the rules change when a different regime has been in power. I think...
Do you think that's what
Lizzie
it is?
McGuire's, I do, at least partially. I think Disney's perception of what Disney Plus is has kind of evolved over however many months that it's been available now. And there have been different executives. Agnes Chu was one of the people spearheading Disney Plus at the beginning, and she's been gone for a bit now. And they realized how wide the market is, that it wasn't just people with children. They keep citing whatever percentage of people on the platform don't have kids. So I think, they saw with Star overseas, and now they're like, okay, well, let's try it in America. I think if the Lizzie McGuire situation happened today, it wouldn't be that much of an issue. Even if it did go to Hulu, I don't know why they didn't let that happen. Maybe they did. Maybe that's what How I Met Your Father is, basically. But
well, why do you think that they didn't just put the Marvel series on Hulu?
I guess just because they want to tie the Marvel brand in directly with Disney. That's my only guess. I mean, it was definitely surprising, and I think this sets the stage for, they keep, even today, on the day we're recording, Christina McCarthy was part of one of the banks thing, I think it was Morgan Stanley, and she was talking about, like, the Hulu brand, how they're very proud of it and what it stands for, and they keep making it sound like they're going to stick it, keep it around. But I think between Disney Plus adding an ad-supported tier and with these new settings, I think it's really setting the stage for once Comcast divests from Hulu, which they've already started doing. They're pulling like SNL and things from that, moving those to Peacock. Once they are officially like out, and it's 100% owned by Disney and not just operated by Disney, I could totally see Hulu just becoming basically like Star is and having its own tile in Disney Plus. I think they can say that that's not their plan. I think it's very clearly long-term their plan. But
I think that makes sense. And honestly, like, first of all, I know everybody likes to think of the Disney brand as just family friendly. It's not. That like label has been tarnished a long time ago, and it's just the reality. Like, it's a lot more than just family friendly content now with all of its different divisions. So honestly, to me, to not have parental controls on Disney Plus since day one, I think was stupid. I think they should have always been there. That way we wouldn't have had this problem. That way we wouldn't have had to edit films. Like the fact that Splash has a butt crack CG'd out of the film is like stupid to me. Like, just so that it can be on Disney Plus. No, have that parental control since day one. I think this is actually really good for the streaming service. And, you know, I think it's a smart move, and I'm actually looking forward to it. So
Yeah, and it does make me wonder some of the editorial decisions we've seen in the past. Like, I think, didn't they use the TV edit of Adventures in Babysitting because it had an F-bomb in it?
Oh, I don't even know, but that wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean,
And then, of course, they edited Hamilton.
Yep.
But now you have Beatles Get Back, and Free Guy has an F-bomb in it that's not censored. So I think it's more just about, I wonder if even when you have these parental controls, if you'll still see those types of edits going forward. Like, I don't know if they're going to retroactively fix the ones, but I wonder if it just has more to do with expectations. Like, if you're looking at the rating of Adventures in Babysitting, or you want Hamilton to be more accessible instead of being R-rated, you want it to be a PG-13. I think it'll be interesting to see how granular it is, to see if you can set, okay, well, I don't care about language versus violence versus whatever.
My guess is that they're going to stop paying to make those edits. So, like, having to go in and make changes to films costs money, costs time, costs many services. I know people who do this for a living. So, like, for them to have to not pay people to do that and say, oh, just stick it under parental control, that saves them money in the long term. And I honestly don't think they're going to care if Hamilton is under a parental control or not. Like, who puts
Maybe
a parental
not now,
control
but I feel
on
like
something?
at the time.
At the time, what?
Well, I was just saying, I think at the time it was different. Maybe now, but it's a library title. I don't know if it matters as much, but I think they wanted to have as wide an audience as possible and not say like parental guidance.
I don't think a
suggested.
6-year-old wants to watch Hamilton.
Well, I don't know about 6-year-old, but
a 13-year-old probably. Yeah, and my guess is that like 95% of parents are like, sure. Like,
yeah, but if you're going by the R rating standard, people don't know what rated R is 2 F-bombs or up to anything else that doesn't qualify as an NC-17. So, I mean, if you're just going by those standards, like, technically, if there were as many F words as there normally was in Hamilton, then it would be rated R, and so that'd be for 17 or older.
I guess I just don't think that many parents would care. Like, listen, I know we're going back a long time now, but I worked at Blockbuster Video, and parents did not care what rating. It was a small percentage of parents that cared what rating their kid was watching, especially when it comes to cursing. Like, if it's something that's going to disturb their child, like, emotionally, that's one thing. But if it's like, they curse, I don't think most parents care. Listen, I'm not a parent. Maybe you don't at me. Maybe I'm speaking nonsense here, but I don't think most people care.
No, I also worked in a movie theater. I'm with you on that, but I still think there are some, and I think that would be, like I said, maybe not necessarily as much now, but I think at the time, I think they needed Hamilton to be as acceptable as possible.
Fair enough. Okay, shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay, Laughing Places, that's yours. Laughing Places, Mike Celestino, that's our mutual buddy. He has created a Star Wars character for Galactic Star Cruiser. Of course, he is the Star Wars guru over at Laughing Place, and you wanted to plug this little short film he made for him, right?
Yeah, well, not just the short film, but what's going to be leading up to it, what comes from the short film. So Mike had a chance, like a lot of different sites. We were invited to a little preview of Galactic Star Cruiser a few weeks ago. So he got to do that 4-hour experience. And now he's going back as a paying guest in a couple weeks. I think March 17th is when he is going. So this time around, what he's doing is he's created this character, and he is going to stay in character the entire weekend, and I believe present his coverage as this character, or at least share what it's like to, if you're really going all in and doing this LARPing side of the Galactic Star Cruiser. So to kind of tease this and introduce people to what he's created, he made a short film. You can find it on our YouTube channel. My wife makes a cameo in it. well, I don't know if it's a cameo, if you're the second build of only two people in the
I was going to say, it was a starring role in my mind.
Okay. But yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what type of zany coverage we get from him. As I forgot, if I was smarter, I would have remembered his character's name and used it right here. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he definitely seemed to have fun doing it. I mean, he's probably the biggest Star Wars fan I know. He's so into it and so passionate about it. So I'm happy he's going to get to have that experience. But he's not the only one on the Laughing Place team, because a little bit after that, you're actually going as a paid guest on the 2-night, 2.5-day journey on the Halcyon to space and Batuu and all that stuff as well. And you'll actually be coming on this podcast to talk all about it. So that episode is something you can all look forward to in the future. I think it'll be interesting, actually, that conversation between you and I, where I'm someone who's like only going to know it from footage I've seen online versus you who has actually experienced it, and kind of comparing notes on what, if the perception online is accurate for what the actual thing is. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. So yeah, are you getting excited for your excursion on the Halcyon?
I am. Like, that's now that we're getting ready to fly home from Paris. So that's our next trip. I haven't watched a ton of footage. I've obviously had to encounter some doing my job, but I haven't dove all the way in like a lot of people have, just because I know I'm going in a few weeks. So,
well, word on the street is play as much as possible and do every mission that they give you. Because if you do, different story elements will be revealed for you that other people will not see. And I'm going to say something, I hope it's not too spoilery, because I assume that you have seen it, but you've heard about a Yoda moment, right?
Only from my wife yesterday.
Okay.
So that's how in the dark I've been until now.
Okay, well, I will say that most people don't get to experience that from what I understand. So if you want to experience that supposedly mind-blowing moment, make sure you do all of the missions. Okay,
I will. I feel like I'm with people who are going to want to do all of the missions, so I will play along. Oh, can I also just say, after seeing some of the footage, I went from planning to just wear jeans and a t-shirt to being like, okay, well, maybe I do want one of these Shop Disney things that they're selling, but I resisted, and I went to the thrift shop, and we found our own pieces to make our own Star Wars inspired things. I got like a barber coat that I found for like $3.50 at the thrift shop that you put a belt around, and totally Star Wars universe.
Excellent. Have you written your backstory yet?
I haven't gone that far.
All right. Well, maybe Mike.
I'll probably be Kyleth Burbank from the planet Earth, who is a picky eater.
Sounds good. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for waking up. I was going to say bright and early, but I don't even think it's bright. I think it's still dark.
The sun is coming up now. It was dark when we started.
Okay, well, it's dark here as well, just different ends of the spectrum there. And thanks so much for waking up early to do the House of Mouse headlines and tell us about your little excursion to Disneyland Paris.
Of course.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think of adding parental controls to Disney+? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569, and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Disney with a Z, Coast to Coast, on your favorite podcast app. This episode has been executive produced by Robert Scontrino. Gain rewards like Robert, including access to never-before-heard episodes and live-stream Q&As by visiting the Patreon link in this episode's description. And don't forget that I'll be matching 100% of your first month subscription to the charity Save the Music for all new patrons joining this month, March of 2022. Anything you need can be found in this episode's description, from additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, to the DCTC hotline where you can leave a voicemail and be heard on a future episode, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.